Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the Student Interest Programs webinar, the second in the Preparing for High School series. Please note this webinar is being recorded and we will be posting it on the website. For anyone that may have joined late, may not be able to make this evening, we will be making this available on our website following this webinar in the days ahead. Before we get underway, I'd like to go and do a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge we are hosted on the lands of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. My name is Ryan Bird. I'm the Executive Officer of Communications and Public Affairs here at the Toronto District School Board. I'll be moderating and hosting this evening's webinar. Many teams have collaborated to help prepare and facilitate this evening's webinar. Just look at some of the names on this screen. I'll introduce you to some people that you will be hearing from this evening, including Executive Superintendent Diana Panagiotopoulos, System Superintendent Ronnie Felson, Centrally Assigned Principal Reiko Fuentes, Centrally Assigned Principal Lisa Edwards, former Coordinator of Guidance Renee Rollins, Melissa Rabas, our Central Lead Teacher, and of myself as we go through this evening's webinar. I'd like to really acknowledge the many central and school-based staff who are here tonight to help make today possible, assist with the questions and answers as we navigate central student interest programs. Just take you through the agenda for this evening. So we'll be talking more about navigating the TDSB website, elementary central student interest programs, secondary central student interest programs. We'll talk more about the application process, the selection and admissions process, other secondary student interest programs. Those are local programs, high-performing athlete programs, facilitated access to skilled trades. We'll talk about out-of-area admissions and secondary schools without a boundary. And then, of course, we'll get to your questions. We will stop to answer questions throughout the presentation as well at the end of the presentation, time permitting as well. A copy of the questions and answers, including those we may not be able to get to tonight, just given the number of people that we are broadcasting to, will be posted next week on the Central Student Interest Program website. Next up, how to participate. If you have requested interpretation, please click on Interpretation and select your language. We did make every effort to make sure as many languages were represented. Unfortunately, interpreters were unavailable for a few languages this evening, and we apologize for any inconvenience. As mentioned, the webinar is being recorded, will be available afterwards. We'll share the sites where it will be found at the end of our webinar. We are supporting more than 3,000 participants this evening. Participants can add questions to the questions and answer, the Q&A button at the bottom. To keep the Q&A manageable, we would ask that you please wait until the related portion of the agenda is completed before asking your question, as we may end up answering your question in the course of the presentation. School-specific questions should be saved for when you attend the school open house. We will not be able to answer those school-specific questions, just given the variety of schools that we have and the very specific information you may be seeking. Some questions will be responded directly in the Q&A, and others may be answered and discussed aloud. We're trying to get to as many questions as possible this evening. We could please ask that please do not keep reposting the same question, given that there are more than 3,000 participants this evening and only about 15 staff to answer them. We will do our best to answer as many questions as possible. A copy of the questions and answers, including some that we're not able to answer tonight, again, will be posted on the Central Student Interest Program website next week. And then please watch the chat, as our moderators will be providing helpful links in the chat along the way. If you're unable to copy the links, please note that a complete list of all the links that will be available on the Central Student Interest Program website by Monday of next week. And with that, I would like to introduce Associate Director Audley Salmon, who will be bringing opening remarks from the TDSB. Audley?
Thanks, Ryan, and good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening to learn more about some of the amazing programs that TDSB has to offer. This evening, you will have the opportunity to learn about some of our local school programs, out-of-area admissions process, and our central student interest programs. Our myriad of programs range from arts-focused, exceptional athlete, integrated technology, IB, or math, science, and technology programs. Each has the potential to open up opportunities and the imagination of your child as they take the next step in their educational journey. We are honored that you and your child are considering taking this journey with us at the TDSB. As you investigate the multitude of options that are available to your child, please keep in mind that your local school has quality programming that should also be explored. The TDSB is committed to meet the needs of every learner by building strong programs in every local school community. This evening, I would like to thank the myriad of staff from a variety of departments who have come together to provide you with essential information needed to help your child and you make the best decision around their learning environment for next year. We hope you find this session informative, but not overwhelming. Thank you once again for taking the time to be with us tonight. Ryan, back to you.
Thank you, Audley. Appreciate those opening remarks. Now I'd like to introduce Reiko Fuentes, our centrally assigned principal of secondary program and admissions, to kick off this evening's webinar. Reiko?
Great. Thanks, Ryan. When students are truly interested and engaged in what they're learning, there is a much more meaningful learning experience and students achieve greater levels of success. The purpose of this webinar is to provide you with an overview of the various student interest programs available in the TDSB. While the majority of the programs that will be reviewed are at the secondary level, there are some unique opportunities that are offered at the elementary level. We will be touching on other possible pathways and programs that students entering secondary school may wish to explore. As students and their parents, guardians, and caregivers begin to explore program options, it cannot be emphasized enough that students themselves must be motivated and interested in attending these schools and programs. Today, we will be reviewing, as Ryan has already said, in our agenda, looking at how to submit applications. But it's important to note that before you submit an application, we strongly encourage you to attend all relevant open houses to learn more and more detail on the specifics about the programs. The online application, again, requires some technology. If you require support or don't have access to technology, please contact your child's current school. It should be noted that if your child is attending a central student interest program and they opt not to continue in the program, they will be expected to return to their local school or their designated school by address. Transportation is the responsibility of the applicant. It's strongly recommended that before applying to a school that you visit the school via public transportation if that will be your mode of transportation during the school year. And it should be noted that all central student interest programs are in person. There are no options through virtual secondary school or remote learning. Both the Choices Planning for Grade 9 and Choices Secondary Program Guide are now available on the guidance website. These are great resources to help you make informed decisions about secondary school. The Secondary Program Guide covers much of the information that will be shared here this evening. So number one, navigating the TDSB website. We know this is no small feat. The gateway to finding all of tonight's information is in the Find Your School link at the top of the TDSB homepage. From the Find Your School site, you can look up your designated elementary or secondary school by address. You can look up various programs and admissions processes at all secondary schools. You can learn more about out-of-area admissions. And you can explore other secondary and elementary program options. If we focus on program and admissions at secondary school, this is a search module where you can learn about all of the programs that exist at any particular school. You can also search by program to see where it is offered and available. The module will also tell you about application dates if applicable. Some programs do not have applications, like special education intensive support programs and French, where students are either placed through the IPRC process, Individual Placement and Review Committee, or have a Pathway French school. The example on the screen here for Central Technical School speaks about Central Tech having its regular program, which is accessed as a secondary school without a boundary, and the application dates that are applicable, and their Arts Central Student Interest Program and the application dates for that. The module has also been updated to show this year's out-of-area admission statuses to make it very clear and transparent whether schools are able to take applications from out-of-area students. From the secondary program options, you can learn more about other types of programs and schools that are available to students who are working towards their Ontario Secondary School Diploma. The font is very small, but the links under secondary programs will take you to our Afrocentric secondary programs, alternative schools. There's a great search tool for both arts courses and technology courses. So you can look to see which schools offer specific areas of the arts or technology and the grade range that it's offered at. This is also the jumping off point to central student interest programs, French programs, the high performing athlete programs, Indigenous education, the remote learning website, secondary schools without a boundary, and special education and inclusion. So that secondary program option from the Find Your Schools will give you the direct links to each of these different areas. Similarly, on the elementary program options, there are links to the different elementary opportunities that you may wish to investigate. But today we're going to spend a few minutes talking about the elementary central student interest program opportunities that are offered by the TDSB. To the right is the rough idea of what the web page looks like. This is where the application will be posted, and there is also a Google Calendar that indicates the important dates and open houses for our elementary programs. Central student interest programs are designed for students with an interest or passion in a particular area for study. For elementary programs, we focus on the arts. On the website, to help students, parents, and guardians and caregivers learn more, you can investigate under the heading of Elementary Central Student Interest Programs more about the 4 arts-focused schools. There's direct links to application and admissions, wait lists, and expressions of interest. As I mentioned, there are 4 elementary programs. I'll provide a brief overview about the elementary Central Student Interest Programs in the arts. There are 2 schools providing a focus and emphasis on arts education, Claude Watson School for the Arts and Karen Kane School for the Arts. Digital and cyber arts are the focus at 2 of our middle schools, Charles H. Best Middle School and Don Mills Middle School, and the grade ranges of the programs are shown on the slide. In the arts-focused schools, there are different entry grades, which is when most students are admitted into the school. Applications for other grades may be considered if space is available in the arts schools and in our arts programs. More details are available about the specific programs. I will point out and highlight that new this year, Charles H. Best will be taking students at grade 6. So the program is expanding from a 7-8 program to a 6-7-8 program. And so we will be taking in a cohort of both grade 6 applicants and grade 7 applicants into this program. Applications are open for all students who are interested in pursuing these arts-based programs. And to iterate, this is a school program. This is not an after-school program. In opting to apply and accepting a placement means that you will be attending this school every day for the grade ranges that are shown on the screen. We will review the application requirements that are in place for both elementary and secondary applicants shortly. Moving along at the secondary level. There are additional programs available to students from across the board that offer unique opportunities and focus on a variety of interests. Again, admissions are interest-based, and all students are invited to participate in the application process. On the Central Student Interest Program homepage shown on the slide, students can find the Google Calendar of the open house dates and a list of other important dates. The links to register for this webinar, for example, was found in the Google Calendar. Please note that all Central Student Interest Program open houses are scheduled before the application deadline of November 24th. And then also this is the site in that little green box where you will find the link to the online application starting on Monday, November the 4th. So where the red bracket is, you can see the sub-menu pages where you can find the specific program information for the 6 different types of programs, as well as a link to the page about application and admissions and expressions of interest. On each of those individual program websites, we are providing additional information based on last year's applications. So the percentage of primary applicants who were offered seats in the entry grade last year have been included. So this will help interested applicants in making their best decisions about their applications. So there is both a color code and a percentage provided, either for overall school programs. So for example, in the lower left-hand corner at Westview Centennial, their arts program was able to admit in the range of 80 to 100% of the applicants to their program. And for the samples over on the right-hand side, where there are specific focuses in their programs, again, a range of 60 to 80% for one of the program types and 40 to 60% for the other. The visual marker is provided, and it should be noted that for your alternate choices, remember that alternate applicants, and we will speak further about this, will only be considered after all primary applicants have been seated. So programs with lower admission rates last year may not be strong alternate choices. So it's already been said, but I'm going to say it again. It's strongly encouraged that you attend the open house for the program or programs in which you are interested. And that also includes attending the open house for your local designated school by address. That may happen after the application process. And should you at that time decide that you want to attend your local secondary school, you can withdraw your application for a central student interest program, or you can just decline an offer of placement if you are seated in a program. But again, we have made sure that the open houses for all of our central student interest programs happen during the application window. For most programs, grade 9 at the secondary level is the main entry point, and you can check the website for other grade options that may be available. Should there be more eligible applicants than there are spaces available, students will be selected through a random selection process, and there are some priorities that are followed that we'll talk about. Again, transportation is the responsibility of the applicant. And students who are in a program who opt to not continue will be expected to return to their designated school by address. So I will provide a brief overview of the 6 types of central student interest programs. So like at the elementary level, we have secondary programs focused on the arts. And while every secondary school offers a variety of arts courses, some students may wish to attend a school where there is more of an emphasis on the arts. Again, in all schools and programs that we'll talk about here, students are expected to take a minimum of 2 arts-focused courses each year. All students interested and passionate about the arts are welcome to apply. There are several different program structures to choose from, but specific program details are available on the arts program website. Focus programs that are shown on the screen have students taking 2 or more courses each year with a specific focus or emphasis. And again, you can learn more about the specific courses by visiting the arts program website. We have schools that have specific programs that applicants must choose between to further sort of specify the area of the arts that interests them the most. In most programs, there is some degree of course choice, but in applying to these schools, you will need to specify the program to which you wish to apply. Next, Exceptional Athlete Program. BEAP, the Birchmount Exceptional Athlete Program, is a unique program that supports student athletes, integrating academics with a rigorous athletic training program. The Exceptional Athlete Program is designed to provide programming for students interested in athletics, healthy active living, nutrition, community development, and leadership. You do not need to play a formal competitive sport outside of school in order to be eligible. Students should be self-motivated and willing to participate in all components of the physical and academic programming needed to excel in sports and educational pursuits. The passion and commitment should be shared in the expression of interest. Grade 9 and 10 are the only grades of entry for Exceptional Athlete Program. Ursula Franklin Academy is a small school by design, bringing together 500 students from across the city. There is no local catchment area for the school. Cross-curricular, future-oriented skills such as conflict resolution, computer technology, problem solving, student leadership, and exposure to international languages are emphasized. The thoughtful integration of technology has been central to the design of the school structure. Beginning in grade 9, all students take Technology and the Skilled Trades, a grade 9 course. This is a hands-on course designed to provide students with opportunities to further explore the engineering design process. This knowledge is then integrated into all their other coursework, both in formal and informal ways. Exploring the many ways that technology is integrated into our lives is directly informed by the work of Dr. Ursula Franklin, who recognized that it was critical to investigate how technology shapes our experience in the world around us and how to center humans above technology. There's grade 9 and grade 10 entry at Ursula Franklin Academy for the Integrated Technology Program. International Baccalaureate. 5 TDSB schools are associated with the International Baccalaureate Organization and offer the IB Diploma Program to students from across the city. The schools offer curriculum and programming that is set and mandated by the International Baccalaureate Organization. There are many unique expectations for students considering International Baccalaureate programming. It is highly recommended that students and their parents and guardians and caregivers attend at least one of the IB open houses to develop an understanding of the demands of the program over 4 years. Students in the IB program complete the requirements for an Ontario Secondary School Diploma, in addition to completing the requirements for an International Baccalaureate Diploma. Applicants should be meeting the provincial standard at least 70% in grades 7 and 8 in language, math, science, history, and geography. Please visit the IB website to learn more about the specific entry grades for each program location and the unique courses that are offered at each site. The IB Diploma Program goes above and beyond what is required and funded by the province for the completion of the Ontario Secondary School Diploma. There are costs associated with the IB program that are required by the International Baccalaureate Organization. These costs are related to annual dues, specialized resources, teacher training, program coordination, and participation in IB exams. Other central student interest programs offered at the TDSB do not have the same required costs. The cost per student is $3,300 over the span of 4 years. After the introduction of IB fees by the TDSB in 2019, the fees were waived for the past 4 years due to the pandemic. A fee structure has been established for students entering pre-IB programs in September 2025. Students in the International Baccalaureate Program will be expected to pay fees to cover the cost of the program. Fees paid each year are non-refundable. Grade 8 applicants that are seated in grade 9 IB programs for September 2025 will be required to submit a payment of $550 in order to confirm and hold their seat in the program. Grade 9 applicants seated in grade 10 in IB programs for September 2025 will also be required to submit that payment of $550 in order to confirm and hold their seat. Subsidies will be available for applicants with a household family income of less than $50,000, ensuring that no student is left behind due to financial constraints. An outline of the fee structure will be posted on the IB website tomorrow, and further information will be provided in the coming weeks. Note, in requesting subsidy, a Canada Revenue Notice of Assessment will be required in order to request a subsidy. The Future Leaders Pathway at RH King Academy provides student leaders with the background knowledge and skill necessary to reach their leadership potential and be positive agents of change in the world. The Central Student Interest Program courses will give students a chance to explore their own identities as leaders within their communities and to consider the problems and concerns that they want to dedicate themselves to. The course-based learning will be enhanced by school and community involvement through engagement with the co-curricular activities within RH King Academy. Grade 9 and grade 10 are the entry grades for the leadership program. The TDSB is reimagining math, science, and technology programs. All students with a keen interest and passion for the worlds of math, science, and technology are welcome and invited to participate in one of the 20 unique programs across the TDSB. Each school will combine a number of CSIP program courses in each grade, where they will make connections between the curricula and the world around them. Each program is unique. Please visit the Math, Science, and Technology program page for a map of the program locations and for more details about each program. Additionally, please visit the individual school websites that are linked from that program page to learn more about the specific program offerings. There is entry at both the grade 9 and the grade 10 level for math, science, and technology programs. Grade 9 is the primary entry point, but some seats will be available at the grade 10 level for current grade 9s to apply to. Here is a quick listing of those 20 sites. Again, they are all listed on the program page for math, science, and technology. And this map can also be found on the Math, Science, and Technology program page. Just geographically, to get an idea of the lay of the land, the dark blue circles indicate the locations of those 20 MST programs or Math, Science, and Technology programs. In addition to those 20 central student interest programs, there are 12 local math, science, and technology programs located across the system designed to support students in the local community. They are shown in light blue. Please visit your designated school by address's website to learn more about the programs that are available for all students in the school. These programs, again, are designed to support the local school community and are not part of the Central Student Interest Program application process. It should be noted that every secondary school in the TDSB, not just the 20 CSIP and the 12 local programs shown here, but every secondary school offers the courses that are required for entry into any math or science-based post-secondary program. While CSIP programs are available to students from across the TDSB, in some schools with significant enrollment pressure, different admissions must be sometimes considered. This year, there is one school where there is insufficient space to bring in a full program of students from outside of the local community. At Mark Garneau Collegiate Institute, for their Math, Science, and Technology program, 50% of the seats will be filled by students living within the local area.
That's perfect. Thank you, Reiko. We will now open it up to a first set of questions. We'll go to our question sheet. Again, we are going to try to get to as many of your questions as possible, given there are about 3,500 people joining us this evening, but we'll get to as many and we'll be texting them into the text as well. First up, and I will just direct to our staff, whoever can answer can begin to answer. Can you join a Central Student Interest Program in grade 10? Or if a child applies to one of the central programs in grade 8 but does not get it, is there an option to try again in grade 9?
Thanks, Ryan. That's a great question. As I mentioned in parts of the presentation, that many of our programs do have grade 10 entry. And so that would be for current grade 9 students looking to join the program at one of our schools at grade 10 entry. So again, all of our math, science, and technology programs, all of our arts programs at the secondary level have grade 10 entry, leadership, exceptional athlete, and most of our international baccalaureate programs, in addition to Ursula Franklin Academy, the integrated technology, all have grade 10 entry, but it must be noted that the number of seats available in grade 10 is significantly smaller than the number of seats available in the entry grade of grade 9.
Thank you for that question, and thank you, Reiko. Next up, what is the difference between secondary Central Student Interest Program and out-of-area admissions?
Great. So we will get to out-of-area admissions. Out-of-area admissions is the process through which a student can apply to attend a school that's not their designated school by address, but for regular program. So to be in classes with the regular local community of that school. The Central Student Interest Programs, there is no local catchment or local community. Everybody applies in to be part of that interest-based program, with the exception of Mark Garneau, as I just mentioned, where 50% of the students are drawn from the local community as the school is full. I don't know how else to put it. It's very full.
Okay, thank you for that. What is the difference between centralized programs and local programs?
So a Central Student Interest Program is available for every student in the TDSB to apply to. So again, we're drawing together resources to offer a program that isn't available at every school. So people come together from across the board. A local program is designed by a school to meet the needs and interests of a local school community. Some schools may opt to offer advanced placement courses. That's a local program. Many of our secondary schools offer specialist high skills majors, and these are specialized programs in grade 11 and 12 that focus on a particular sector of the workforce. And those are offered for any student who attends the school. And that's the key to what a local program is. It's to meet the needs of the local school community and the students who are attending that school in the mainstream population.
Continuing with that thread, just differentiating between the different options, the difference between a central student interest program and a secondary alternative school.
So alternative schools are generally smaller environments. They may have a specific modality or way that they approach instruction. Not all secondary alternative schools have grade 9 offerings. And there is a link on the secondary program options website to learn more about secondary alternative schools. And again, they're offering a variety of courses, again, at different grade levels, to help students earn their Ontario Secondary School Diploma.
Thank you for that. And when it comes to, someone was asking about explaining the difference and then the pros and cons of joining a STEM special interest program versus staying in the gifted stream.
So that's going to be a personal choice based on the needs of the learner. So in a gifted program, students are cohorted together with other students that have that same recognized exceptionality, and they're taking a variety of courses in grade 9 and grade 10, and there are fewer of them in grade 11 and grade 12. So that is, again, something that the student has already been in, and if that's been an environment that they have enjoyed and thrived in, that may be something that they want to continue. If they're looking to take a different focus and focus more on math, science, and technology, and again, looking at what those program courses are in some of our math, science, technology, central student interest programs, they may want to enter a different environment, be with different students, again, who have that common focus and interest.
And then, Reiko, if you're applying to 2 different programs, can you submit 2 different statements of interest, like whether it be your arts and a math program, for example?
So we'll get to the application process, but absolutely. So in your application, you have a primary choice in your primary application, and you can opt to include an alternate choice. It does not have to be the same type of program, but applicants are only required to submit one expression of interest. It can either focus on their primary area or focus in their primary choice, or they can incorporate both areas if they choose to. There's lots of flexibility, but they do not need to submit 2 separate expressions of interest. They are reviewed centrally, and so we know what the application is and where they've applied, and so we're just looking at the general expression of interest, either for the primary or they can incorporate both. That's up to the applicant to decide.
Okay, thank you for that. Can you take AP courses while also being enrolled in a central student interest program? So the example this person gives is the IB program.
So IB, no, you're taking IB courses and you're focusing on that IB curriculum to earn the International Baccalaureate Diploma. In some of our other programs, and I would say a number of our math, science, and technology programs, there are options to take AP prep courses in grade 11 and AP courses in grade 12 that may be offered to the broader school community, but that are available to students in the Central Student Interest Program.
Reiko, how would the arts programs guarantee that there is a complete cohort of students interested in each of the art streams, for example, film, if there are only 2 streams available for application now, i.e. visual arts and performance arts, and acceptance is done by lottery?
So for some of our schools, they have developed more specific program channels where they're, again, looking at students that have a particular interest. In those programs, though, I would say in grade 9 and in grade 10, and in several of the schools, students are also taking an integrated arts course. So while they're taking a specific focus, so it might be visual art, it might be dance, it might be music, they're also taking an integrated arts course, so they are getting exposure to other forms of the arts. And then students have the opportunity to specialize when they get to the senior grades.
Okay, that's great. We do have a number of questions about application process, but I do know that we are getting to a section on that and as far as the selection and admissions process. So I think now with that, I hope that much of the presentation will answer some of those questions that we have. And then if we aren't able to do that, we'll try to get to as many of those following the next section. With that, I would like to introduce Dr. Renee Rollins, who will be speaking about the application process. Renee?
Thank you, Ryan. So the online application for elementary and secondary Central Student Interest Programs will be available on November 4th at www.tdsb.on.ca/CSIP. If you are applying for a Central Student Interest Program, you do not need to complete an out-of-area admission application for the same school. If you're interested in a Central Interest Program that is offered at your local designated school by address, you must still apply through the Central Student Interest Program application. Central Student Interest Programs are available to students across the board. Central Student Interest Programs are an option for students. There is no requirement for students to apply. That said, please remember that all TDSB schools offer a wide variety of courses in the arts, math, science, and to a varying degree technology, and will provide students with leadership opportunities during their 4 years of high school. Before you start the application, a parent or guardian will need to create an enrollment account if they do not already have one. The student or applicant should not be creating this account. Once that's complete, here's a list of the information that you will need to have on hand to complete the CSIP application. You'll need the student legal name, date of birth, and gender. You'll also need the primary home address, including the postal code where the applicant and their parent, guardian, or caregiver is currently residing. You'll need the current school and grade, the student and the student number if it's a TDSB student. You'll need the program and school of choice. There's a voluntary self-identification of student racial identity and background, contact information of the parent, legal guardian, or caregiver, and an expression of interest completed by the student applicant. It's very important that the email address that's provided for the parent, guardian, or caregiver is correct. Please take great care in ensuring that it is entered correctly. Please note that only one application can be submitted for each student. The expression of interest is to be completed by the student applicant. The applicant may choose any way to express their interest in applying. Accepted file formats for upload are listed on the screen. You may also provide a link to your expression of interest if it is a video or audio file. The expression of interest must be included in the online application. Samples of expression of interest can be found on the Expression of Interest website. Please do not send the expression of interest to schools. It is only viewed for completion at the central level. Each expression of interest submission will be read, watched, or listened to. The expression of interest must make reference to or be directly connected to the Central Student Interest Program and the type of program or programs you've applied to. For example, a student applying to the Birchmount Exceptional Athlete Program might reference their interest in athletic development or the importance of a healthy and active lifestyle in their submission. If you're applying to more than one type of program, your expression of interest may be connected to your primary choice, or you may integrate both areas of interest into a single expression. The expression of interest is not intended to be a portfolio with multiple components. There are limitations for secondary applicants regarding the expression of interest. Students must choose one of the options and consider that the written or text-based submission has a maximum of 1,000 words. The audio or video recording cannot be more than 5 minutes. This could include the student's own performance with a brief description of how this work has influenced you. There is a limit of 3 pieces of digital versions of students' artwork or project. This could be the student's own artwork, or students could submit 3 pieces of art from another artist accompanied by a brief description of how their work has influenced you. There are several exemplars of the expressions of interest posted on the CSIP website. If you need assistance uploading or linking your expression of interest, please contact your current school. Details about the expression of interest limits for elementary applicants, which differ from the secondary limits, can be found on the Elementary Expression of Interest website. Applicants apply to one primary CSIP and may also include one alternate choice. Alternate choices will only be considered after all primary applications for that choice have been considered. It would be wise to include a program with an 80 to 100% 2024 admission rate as an alternate choice, rather than a choice that was not able to support all interested primary applicants. Here are 3 hypothetical students and their application choices. Keep in mind that applicants do not have to pick 2 programs of the same type. Alternatively, applicants may opt, for example, to apply to 2 arts areas at the same school for their primary and alternate choices. Let's go through the examples. In the first example, Jamal's primary choice is Wexford's Performing Arts Program, and his alternate choice is Woburn's Arts Collective. In example 2, Chase has a primary choice of West Humber's Math Science Technology Program, and their alternate choice is Kipling's Math Science Technology Program. In example 3, it shows Keisha with a primary choice of Ursula Franklin Academy, and she does not have an alternate choice. If an applicant is selected for their primary choice, they will not be considered for their alternate choice. If an applicant is offered a spot in their alternate choice, they will remain on the waitlist for their primary choice. So let's see what that might look like for our 3 students. So Jamal was selected for his primary choice, so he will not be considered for his alternate. Chase was placed in their alternate program at Kipling Collegiate, but remains on the waitlist for West Humber. Chase is fairly high on the waitlist, and so if Chase stays on the waitlist and a space becomes available at West Humber, Chase will automatically be seated at West Humber and will lose the seat at Kipling. And this is pretty important to note. Sometimes students and families end up preparing and wanting to attend their second choice. So if you wish to be removed from a waitlist, please contact your current school by email as soon as possible, or non-TDSB applicants can contact the secondary program and admission office at ccsip@tdsb.on.ca. Now, Keisha is number 245 on the waitlist for her primary choice. She can opt to remain on that waitlist, or she may wish to be removed. And remember, in this example, Keisha did not request an alternate choice. Once started, the application can be saved along the way. However, there is no reminder for you to complete or submit the application if it's incomplete. So be sure to remember to finish your application if you save it but don't submit it. Once submitted, the application cannot be changed. There is a video tutorial available on the application and admissions website showing each step of the process, including how you can save your work. Students and their parents or guardians and caregivers should make every effort to attend all appropriate open houses before making a final decision about program choices. Open houses for central student interest programs in schools will begin on November 4th and will happen before the application deadline of November 22nd at 4:00 p.m. The application is not a first come, first serve application. All submissions will be received by the deadline and will be equally considered. After you submit your application, you'll receive an email notification. Please watch it in all folders, including your junk mail and your spam. All future communication will come from the same email address. The confirmation email also indicates that you have correctly entered your email address in the application. If you do not receive this confirmation email, please contact your current school. Should you require support completing the online application, we are hosting 2 online support sessions on November 12th and November 18th. The links are located on the Google Calendar on the Central Student Interest Program webpage. TDSB staff will be available to answer questions about the application should applicants require assistance. Staff will not be able to answer specific program and/or school-based questions. Instead, families are encouraged, as we said before, to attend open houses for school and program-specific information. Additionally, a resource guide is available on the Central Student Interest Program website to support students, parents, guardians, and caregivers.
That's great. Thank you so much, Renee. Appreciate that. I would now like to introduce Angela Kakamo, our centrally assigned principal of French language programs, classical and international languages, and Effie Stathopoulos, our centrally assigned principal, special education and inclusion.
Thanks, Ryan. Good evening. Here are a few important notes about French programming. Students in grade 8 French programs, immersion and extended, are not required to apply for a French program in grade 9, except in the case where they wish to attend a school not associated with their home address, and for that they would follow the out-of-area admissions process within the timelines that will be discussed later tonight. Students begin French immersion at the elementary level and continue the secondary French immersion pathway associated with their home address. The pathway secondary school for French may be different than the English designated school by address. Please note that the extended French program is currently phasing out. There is no new grade 9 extended French as of September 2025. Students who complete the grade 8 junior extended French program in June of 2025 and who are interested in the continuation of French programming will be accommodated in the French immersion program by address in grade 9 in September of 2025. French language programs and special education intensive support programs are not considered central student interest programs. Students who are in French language programs, that is French immersion, or an intensive support program can apply to central student interest programs. Applicants can accept an offer for a central student interest program without jeopardizing their spot in a French language program or a special education program. If they accept a spot in a central student interest program, they will be leaving their French immersion program. Once the student has been made active at their new secondary school in the Central Student Interest Program or in the regular English program, the return to French immersion program cannot be guaranteed. Over to my colleague, Effie.
Thank you, Angela. For special education intensive support programs, students in grade 8 intensive support programs are not required to apply to continue in the program in grade 9. The placement process is done through the IPRC annual review process, and students will be offered placement in secondary school. Students will be placed in intensive support programs with space closest to their address, and therefore, your IPRC placement may be in a school that is not your English designated secondary school by address. Thank you.
So just to continue on with the application process regarding French and special education intensive support programs. In January and February, though, applicants that have accepted seats in central student interest programs must make a decision regarding their grade 9 plan. Students accepting a placement in a special education intensive support program through the IPRC process waive their central student interest program seat. Students in French programs should make a decision in February as well. If they are continuing in French, they should decline any offer of placement in a central student interest program. Please note, if a student in the French program accepts a seat in a central student interest program and becomes active in their central student interest program and then changes their mind, a return to the French program cannot be guaranteed. It would be based on available space at their French immersion school. And students become active in a central student interest program sometime in mid-August. So I'm going to speak a little bit about the selection and the admissions process. It's already been mentioned that where there are more applicants than there are spaces available, eligible applicants will be entered into a random selection process or lottery. The TDSB is committed to increasing access to central student interest programs to those who have not historically been represented in the programs. There are several priorities that will be followed during the selection process. One of the priorities of the Student Interest Program policy has been to ensure broader representation of the TDSB is able to access and participate in student interest programs. While changes to the admission practices will assist, further steps are required to support groups of students who remain underserved in all forms of central student interest programs. In keeping with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action, First Nation, Métis, and Inuit applicants will be placed in their primary choice application when applying for entry grade, so most commonly grade 9. Applicants will be given first priority for primary and alternate choice applications in other grades and will be placed if and when space is available. 20% of seats, reflecting the TDSB demographic in the 2023 student census, will be allocated to primary choice applicants from historically and currently underserved communities, students identifying as Black, Latino, Latina, Latinx, and Middle Eastern. In circumstances where alternate choice applications are being considered, self-identifying applicants will be prioritized in programs that have not filled their 20% of seats. In math, science, and technology programs, 50% of seats will continue to be allocated to students identifying as female. And lastly, admission priority will be given to students who are residents of the City of Toronto. Only after applicants that reside in the City of Toronto have been offered placement in Central Student Interest Programs will students from outside of Toronto be considered for placement. If the number of applications from students who reside in the City of Toronto for a particular program exceeds the number of available spaces, no offers will be made to students who reside outside of the city. A few other things to note about selection and admissions. There is no sibling priority for Central Student Interest Programs. Students who may already be attending an elementary Central Student Interest Program are not given greater priority for secondary programs. There is no priority for local applicants, with the exception of the one school facing the significant enrollment challenges that I mentioned at Mark Garneau Collegiate. And students that live in the designated area for a school that offers a Central Student Interest Program, they must still apply through this process if they wish to participate in that particular program. So for example, if you reside in the catchment area for Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate and wish to participate in their IB program, even though you have a right to go to the school for regular program, you must apply in November if you want to participate in the IB program. The random selection process will occur centrally, and all communication will come via email from a PowerSchool email address on December the 5th. And again, it's the same email address that confirmation email will come from. So it's important that you are checking for that confirmation email to make sure that you have not, the email is not going to your spam. There will be a unique link in the results that will show offers and positions on wait lists. Please do not contact schools directly for selection results. Please note that these program offers will expire. You can decline an offer at a later time, but please only accept an offer that you are truly interested in attending. A second round of offers will be made on December the 12th. Students will be placed in seats that become available where students have declined offers of placement. Applicants can continue to check their link, that same link, over the whole course to see their standing and how they may be changing position on a program's waitlist. If you change your mind and decide that you do not wish to attend a program where you have accepted a space, please let your current school know in writing by email as soon as possible so that your space can be given to another student on the waiting list. Secondary offers will continue to be made on a weekly basis starting in January 2025 and will continue for secondary until Wednesday, February the 26th, when the central waitlist will expire. And elementary offers will continue for one day more until Thursday, February the 27th, and then those central waitlists will expire. These dates can all be found on the Central Student Interest Program applications and admissions website. So this is an example of the results that you would see using that live link that I just mentioned coming in the results email that will be sent on December the 5th. So for student A, they submitted an application where their primary program choice was the leadership program at R.H. King Academy, and their alternate choice was the math, science, technology program at SATEC at W.A. Porter. The results on the right show that and it does call it the second choice at the very top, that in the alternate choice, the student was offered a seat at SATEC, but for their first choice, their primary application at R.H. King, they're on the wait list and they're in position number 11. So student A and their parent caregiver can then choose to either accept or decline the seat at SATEC, and they'll be asked to confirm their selection. Student A will remain on the wait list for R.H. King Academy. If a space becomes available, the student will be automatically offered the seat at R.H. King Academy, and the seat at SATEC will be given to the next applicant on the waitlist. If student A wishes to remain at SATEC, The student and their parent guardian must ask to be removed from the R.H. King Academy waitlist. Student A would get removed from the waitlist by having a parent guardian contact their current school in writing to make the request. And non-TDSB applicants would contact the Central Student Interest Program email address at csip@tdsb.on.ca. A second scenario, student B. So student B, their primary application was for Ursula Franklin Academy, and their alternate choice was the arts program at Central Technical School. The results shown in the middle of the slide show that this student was selected for Ursula Franklin Academy, and that they were then not considered at all for Central Technical School as they were seated in their primary choice. So again, this applicant would then choose to accept or decline the seat at Ursula Franklin Academy. And again, the timelines for when offers expire will be outlined in the email that accompanies the results link. And also all of those dates and times are available on the Central Student Interest Program website. I've mentioned already our deadlines for waitlists. So central waiting lists will remain active and we will continue making offers until February the 26th for secondary and February the 27th for elementary. The secondary dates are aligned with our secondary out-of-area admissions. Everything for secondary is resolved on the 26th, and our elementary date aligns with elementary out-of-area and also applications for elementary alternative schools. So no further central offers will be made after these dates as schools enter their staffing process in early March. Central waitlists will be taken at that time, and they will be reduced into local waiting lists for schools with a local catchment area. These local waiting lists will include students who live in area for the school that's offering the Central Student Interest Program, where the students are already pre-registered to attend that school in September 2025. And this may include both current TDSB students or students new to the TDSB who have registered to attend their designated school by address. Please note students who attend the school through out-of-area admissions will not be included. Should space become available in the Central Student Interest Program, applicants will be considered for seats in the program in order of their position on the local waitlist. And those moves will not be made until June or early September.
Thank you so much, Reiko. Obviously, a lot of information right there, but we do want to get back to another question session to try to get to as many questions as possible. Just looking at the Q&A section, I know our own staff have answered hundreds of questions. We have more, so we'll try to get to those. Reiko, we've got some on the application process and the selection and admissions process. So if my child's application for a Central Student Interest Program is declined, do they have the option to apply to an out-of-area school later on?
So students have many different options and choices when it comes to choosing a secondary school when they graduate from grade 8 to go to grade 9. So Central Student Interest Programs that we've just been talking about, that's one application, again, starting in November with results carrying through to the end of February. In January, and we will be speaking about this a little later in the presentation, we have our out-of-area admissions process where students can apply to attend a school that's not their designated school by address, where there is space available. So based on the status of the school. So of course they can opt to apply to a school through out-of-area admissions. But I would say that if a student is not seated in a Central Student Interest Program or not seated in their out-of-area admissions application, their choice for secondary school becomes their designated school by address.
Okay, thank you for that. A question about IB fees from someone. Technically, the IB diploma program is for grades 11 and 12. This person curious to know why the fee is charged upon entry to grade 9. At that point, it was their understanding the programs were pre-IB and not officially IB. Do you have any more information on that?
So the fees are being spread over the course of 4 years, and there's some ease of payment in doing the plan that way rather than having it only done in 2 years. Additionally, some of the costs for the schools that are offering the IB program are again, something that the teachers are receiving certifications and training over the course of the 4 years. And the teachers who are teaching in the pre-IB program are also having those certifications and training provided. The resources and it's not a membership fee. I can't remember the name of the fee to belong to the organization. Those are borne by the school, and as a student of the school, that they're helping to offset that over the course of the 4 years.
That's great, thank you. This next person asking, their daughter is not currently in the TDSB. Do they still need to apply for the TDSB designated school by address and transfer to a central student interest program? Or do we just skip the homeschool application?
So if a non-TDSB applicant applies and is seated in a central student interest program, they will be sent a unique registration package to register for that particular school, since that school is likely not their designated school by address. So that will all be done through the acceptance of the central student interest program offer of placement. And that will
Okay,
happen
thank you
about
for that.
February.
Yep. Sorry, say that once more.
February.
In February, okay. Could you explain just the rationale for this person asking for the limit of one program only, the change from 2 options to 1 school option?
So again, we want to look at students focusing on the opportunities that are available to them closest to their home potentially, or looking at a particular program that's going to best meet their needs. We do provide the alternate choice. So really there is a second choice option that is available. And this way, I think it's a more balanced approach in terms of everyone's primary choice, rather than having some people having their hat in 2 rings. Everybody has that one primary choice and stands a really equal opportunity for the selection process for those programs. And it also recognizes that, again, when we're looking at programs that are closest to home, not all students have the same ease of transportation and may not have the opportunity to apply to programs that are further away from home.
Okay, thank you for that. Next up, can you explain what a primary applicant means?
So again, this is the choices that can be included in a central student interest program application. In order to, when you submit the application, it's with the intention of your primary choice, the program that you really are putting your hat in the ring. This is where I really want to go. It's my first choice, if you will. Some students and some applicants, that's all they will include. That's where I want to go. If I'm not going to go to my designated school by address, it's because I want to go to this particular program. Others may opt to include an alternate choice. So again, looking to make sure that there are opportunities. And again, applicants should look at the acceptance rates from last year, the percentages of students who were of primary applicants who were seated, to get an idea of whether or not those schools are more likely to get to alternate choices.
So there's another question. We're receiving a number of questions about how many programs students can apply for. Just remind us of the number of program students that can apply for. So, and for both central student interest programs and out of area schools.
So for central student interest programs, they have their primary choice and they can opt to include an alternate choice.
Okay.
We will get to out of area and secondary schools without a boundary.
Okay, that's great. Let me just double check our question list again, trying to get to as many of your questions as possible. Are there additional slots in these programs for students with special needs, Reiko?
They're not additional spots, but again, we have looked to create fewer barriers for students with special needs to gain access to the programs that they're interested in applying to.
Okay. For schools with a lottery system, does the school select the top applicants once they review all applications, report cards, and expression of interest essays, and then do a lottery of those applicants? Or are all applicants put in a lottery and then their applications are reviewed and accepted? My understanding is that they're all put into the lottery, are they not?
So eligible applicants submit their expression of interest. That is the application requirement. There are no report cards. We're not looking at marks. We're not ranking applicants. All eligible applicants are considered for the random selection process.
Okay, thank you. Just looking at a number of questions about the expression of interest that you referenced there. Are expressions of interest required for each school that you select on your application? Is the expression of interest ranked, rated, or judged? So I believe one of the questions from before, I believe you just have to put one expression of interest forward, and that can apply to both your primary or secondary choice or alternate choice.
Correct, or it can just focus on the primary choice.
Okay, thank you for that. Where can information on how to write an expression of interest letter be found? Is that on the Central Student Information Interest Program website?
Yes, both the elementary and the secondary websites have a sub-page about expressions of interest. We talk about sort of the criteria and the parameters, and there are also samples of expressions of interest that were submitted last year as exemplars to make reference to.
One of the questions is, how is the position of the waitlist determined if it's random selection? So again, my understanding is that the computer program that we use that helps do this would then randomly put them into a wait list?
So the randomness starts and again, following the priorities first into the seats. And then once we run out of seats, that's the order and the sequence that the wait list is created.
Yeah, our homeschool does not offer MST. Their son is interested in the program. If we apply to the MST program through secondary central student interest programs and he's not accepted, are there options there available to them?
So again, we will talk about out of area. So where we can look at, again, whether there's particular course offerings, but again, for the areas of math, science, and technology, every secondary school in the system offers all of the courses that are needed to prepare students to enter into post-secondary programs in math, engineering, life sciences. These courses are available in all of our secondary schools.
Okay, there's one question here about their child is in a gifted grade 8 program. If they get into a special program in high school, like International Baccalaureate, can he then come back to gifted in high school if he changes his mind after a while? Can they switch back to gifted?
I may call on my colleague, Effie Stathopoulos, to answer that question.
Hi, everyone. Yes, your child can always come back to the gifted program if they're in the special program and it's just not meeting their needs.
Okay, thank you for that, Effie. Next up, if they're coming from another school board, this person just wants to confirm we do not need to register until we've received an offer. Is that accurate?
Correct. Registrations for the upcoming school year don't even start until February. And so if you are offered a seat in a Central Student Interest Program, you will be sent a registration package for the Central Student Interest Program. If you are opting to attend your designated school by address, there is the general registration package that's available on the TDSB website, but none of that happens before February.
Okay, that's great. Okay, we took a break for questions. I think we do have to continue with the rest of our presentation. So I will now throw it back to, I believe Renee is taking it from here. Renee?
Thanks, Ryan. So we just had some questions around local programs. And so we're going to talk about that right now. Many of the TDSB student interest programs are actually local programs offered at local schools to support the needs and interests of students registered at the school. Students and parents and guardians and caregivers are encouraged to attend their local school open house and ask about local program options for students. All students at a school should be able to select or join a local program through the course selection process. Students interested in a local program at a school may opt to apply to attend the school through out-of-area admissions if applicable. You can also learn about these local programs by visiting your school's website. Examples of local programs include specialist high skill majors, also called SHISMs, leading to Red Seal diplomas in various sectors. These programs include experiential learning opportunities and certifications for students in grade 11 and 12. There are 12 new local math, science, and technology programs in secondary schools across the system that were mentioned earlier. Some schools offer special certifications and external programs such as Cisco Nortel or Law in Action within schools, also known as LAWS. Many schools offer certificate programs in core French and business studies, and several schools offer local leadership development programs. High-performing athlete programs provide academic programming for students who are athletes involved in provincial, national, or international levels of competition. In order to meet the demands of intense training schedules, schools provide more flexible timetables in order to balance school with out-of-school commitments so that athletes can strive for both academic and athletic excellence. Students can apply for a morning program to accommodate afternoon training or an afternoon program when training takes place in the morning. Additionally, special consideration is given for school missed as a result of competition. There are 3 new sites accepting student athletes in the fall of 2025. At the elementary level, the program at Hollycrest Middle School is being joined by Alaya Middle School and Military Trail Public School, who will both be accepting applicants for grade 6. At the secondary level, West Hill Collegiate will provide an east location complementing the west site at Silverthorne Collegiate and the north site at Northview Heights Secondary School. The admissions criteria for the program is currently under review. Further details will be provided on the website, and the online application will be available for these programs in early 2025. Check the High Performing Athlete Program website for more details in the upcoming months. Grade 9 and 10 students from across the city can be a part of the Afrocentric secondary programs offered at Winston Churchill Collegiate in the east and Downsview Secondary School in the west. These programs include an Afrocentric approach to learning that is embedded in core grade 9 and 10 courses. The curriculum draws on African-centered sources of knowledge and perspectives to create a rich and diverse educational experience that builds an environment of high academic achievement, increased student engagement, and enriched cultural pride for all students. Some TDSB schools are able to provide programming in the skilled trades based on facility available. This is known as Facilitated Access to Skilled Trades, or FAST. Students in grades 10 to 12 who are interested in joining a specialist high skill majors in a sector of the skilled trades can apply to move to a school with the program when space is available. There are 6 different skilled trade sectors that can be accessed where space is available. Interested students can submit an online application for the program type and location. Central staff will evaluate if space is available and support a move at either the start of semester 2 or the start of the next school year. The application deadlines are shown on the screen. We're going to shift gears now and talk about the out-of-area admissions process. And so now I will hand it back to Reiko Fuentes.
Thanks so much, Renee. Every student has a home school or designated school by address based on their address of residence, and that school will provide rich programming options that support all pathways. Some students may wish to apply a school elsewhere in the system. Students may be looking for specific courses or local programs, such as the specialist high skills majors that Renee has just mentioned. They might be looking for technical programming or other unique programming other than central student interest programs. Then these programs may not be available at their home school or their designated school by address. This is done through the out-of-area admissions process, formerly known as optional attendance. If accepted through this process, students gain access to the regular program or the intensive French language program in the requested school. Acceptance at a school through out-of-area admissions is subject to space availability. This is an entirely separate process than the Central Student Interest Program application. Students that have accepted a placement at a Central Student Interest Program may still apply for a school through out-of-area admissions. If offered a space, the applicant will need to decide which school they will attend. They cannot hold seats in both options. The out-of-area admissions application is also the way to access virtual secondary school for those looking to pursue studies in remote learning. Grade 8 students who are currently participating in remote learning do not need to apply to virtual secondary school through the out-of-area admissions application. Grade 8 students currently learning in person do need to apply if they wish to attend virtual secondary school. If students change their mind at some point while attending virtual secondary school and want to return to in-person learning, they can do so at certain times of the year. They will return to their designated school by address unless they apply to another school through out-of-area at that time for the following September. Please note that there is no French immersion or Central Student Interest programs available at virtual secondary school. So again, we have a central online application. Families that require support in accessing technology should connect with their current school for assistance. The online application will open in January after the winter break, so there's plenty of time to attend open houses and learn more about your school options, including your designated school by address. Students can apply to one school or program. They can either apply to an English language or regular program. In a few cases, there are options for French immersion or intensive French programs. Or again, if you're currently studying in person, you have the opportunity to apply for remote learning at virtual secondary school. Seats are randomly filled based on the selection priorities, which can be found on the out-of-area admissions website. We'll quickly recap those priorities. Priority 1 for secondary school is where you have a sibling currently attending in grade 11 or 12 at the requested school and returning to the school the following year. Priority 2 is for students who attend a feeder school in the same program, but don't live in area for the school that their middle school feeds to. Priority 3 only impacts elementary entry. Priority 4 is given to TDSB students. Priority 5 are other applicants residing in the City of Toronto, and Priority 6 are applicants residing outside of the City of Toronto. Each school is given an out-of-area admission status, and not every school is able to accept applications from out-of-area students. Schools that are only able to support students living in their catchment area are considered closed, and no out-of-area students can apply. These schools are not included in the online application. Schools with a small amount of space available may be able to accept applications from Priority 1, students with a sibling currently attending and returning to the school. Schools with a little bit more space may be able to accept applications from Priorities 1 and 2, siblings or attending a feeder school. And again, the feeder school piece is important to try to allow students who may live out of area to stay with their class or cohort. Remaining schools are considered limited, where students from all priority groups may apply. In all cases, the number of students that can be accepted through the out-of-area admissions process will be dependent on the number of local students opting to attend, and the projected number of students that the school will be staffed for. In all of these schools, if demand for access is greater than the space available, students will be selected through a lottery or a random selection system following the priorities that I outlined earlier. Schools will only be able to admit students if space is available. Schools will not know the number of available seats until early February, when the random selection process takes place. And again, the number of spaces is going to be dependent on their local population, their local grade 8s, who's opting to attend their designated school by address, and also looking at their projections that they will be staffed at. On the out-of-area admissions website, you can find the out-of-area admissions status for each school in the TDSB, and the status can also be found on that program and admissions and secondary school search tool that was demonstrated at the beginning of the webinar. And those statuses have been published and are accessible for everyone now. Students in a French program who are attending their elementary school as an out-of-area admission student must return to their pathway secondary school associated with their home address. A student who began the program at a French immersion or extended French school and then changed address since that initial placement is considered out of area to their school. And if that student wishes to attend a secondary school other than the one associated with their home address, they must apply through the out-of-area admissions process with the timelines that we've outlined. Secondary schools without a boundary. So there are 5 schools with specialized programming options that are available to applicants from across the City of Toronto. These schools have no boundaries, hence their name, Secondary Schools Without a Boundary, and all students interested in attending one of these schools must apply. They were associated with legacy, technical, and commercial boundaries that are no longer in effect. The application process for these schools is included in the secondary out-of-area admissions application. The schools are Central Technical School, Central Toronto Academy, Danforth Collegiate and Technical Institute, Western Technical Commercial School, and Northern Secondary School. However, Northern Secondary School does have a small collegiate boundary. It is not truly a secondary school without a boundary, but it is included in this process as the majority of students entering Northern did so through the large technical boundaries that did exist. Students that do reside in that small collegiate boundary are not required to apply to attend Northern Secondary School. We have priorities associated in access, and these were based on the public consultation that was conducted last year. In keeping with Truth and Reconciliation, access for First Nation, Métis, and Inuit students is supported outside of the application process. Admission will be supported at regular intake time in regular program in any of our secondary schools without a boundary, and this is also the case and is true for any regular program out of area admissions. So our students who are First Nation, Métis, and Inuit may opt to attend the regular program at any school in the TDSB. Priority 1 is again siblings. So if there is a sibling attending the requested school, you are considered first priority. Priority 2 demonstrates our commitment to supporting our technological programming that's available at 4 of the 5 schools. This doesn't apply to Central Toronto Academy, which doesn't have a technical program. 30% of the seats that are available at the school will be allocated to students who demonstrate that commitment to taking a tech-based course in each of the years that they attend the school. Priority 3, the next group that will be seated, are applicants residing within the collegiate area of a school that has historically contributed large numbers of students to the former technical and commercial schools, and that have limited ability to receive an influx of additional students due to the building or site constraints. So students living within Riverdale's area will be given priority 3 status when applying to Danforth. Those in North Toronto's area will be priority 3 for Northern. In Humberside's area when applying to Western Tech, and living in Harvard's area and applying to either Central Technical School or Central Toronto Academy. It is anticipated that at the entry grade level of grade 9, all applicants from priority 1, 2, and 3 will be seated. Then a random selection process will be used to fill the remaining seats with applicants from these priority groups. So priority 4 are TDSB applicants residing within the City of Toronto. It should be noted that any applicants who requested the technology seats who were not granted one of those 30% tech seats will be considered as either priority 4 or priority 5, whether they're TDSB or non-TDSB students. And lastly, we have applicants residing outside of the City of Toronto. So when we're asked about the number of choices that students have on the secondary out-of-area admissions application, there are 2 options. Applicants can either apply for one out-of-area option, they can apply for one secondary school without a boundary, or they can opt to apply to both, an out-of-area option and a secondary school without a boundary. If applying to both and offered a seat in both, applicants may only accept the seat at one school. Going a little bit more quickly here, quick graphic to show some of the different timelines starting right now at the beginning of November with our open houses, our application dates, the random selection process and offers, and everything coming to a close for secondary on February the 26th. Students participate, grade 8 students participate in course selections throughout the month of February, and they submit their choice for where they are going to be attending based on either their address or any of the options they might have been seated in. And secondary schools work from April to June to build timetables to support those students.
Okay, thank you, Reiko. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. We have had last count close to 500 questions that we have answered via text through the chat or the Q&A feature. We have obviously received hundreds of questions this evening. We have tried to get to them not only in the presentation itself, the question and answer section, the text question and answer section. So I apologize that we could not get to all of them, but it does appear that we got to as many as humanly possible. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. The recording of this event, as mentioned, will be available next week on the TDSB Admissions YouTube channel and will be available on the TDSB guidance page and on the Central Student Interest Program website. All of those links, which are being provided in the text there in the chat feature, will be great resources if you are looking for additional information. The slides, the shared links, the Q&A will also be posted on the Central Student Interest Program's website next week. Our sincere thanks to Margaret Horvath and Ken McDonald for supporting this webinar, and thank you to our interpreters this evening for supporting our families. Thank you to the Guidance, Career Development, and Student Wellbeing Department and our central and school-based staff for assisting with the Q&A this evening and helping coordinating this evening's event. It would not be possible without their support. Thank you again so much for joining us this evening, and have a wonderful night.